session for the 34th Guam Youth Congress is hereby called to order. Representative Ramos, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, withstanding the standing rules, I move that we resolve into the Committee of the Whole to swear in new members.
On the motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole, withstanding the standing rules, are there any objections? Without any objections, the motion is carried. We are now in the Committee of the Whole. I would like to take this time to invite our representative-elect, Representative Nguyen, to please come forward for your swearing in. Raise your right hand and repeat. I solemnly swear, in the presence of Almighty God, that I will well and faithfully support the Constitution of the United States, the laws of the United States applicable to Guam, and the laws of Guam, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my duties as a representative of the Guam Youth Congress. Congratulations, thank you. Representative Ramos?
Madam Speaker, with the swearing in now concluded, I move that we rise from the Committee of the Whole.
Motion to rise from the Committee of the Whole. Are there any objections? Seeing none, motion carries. Will all representatives please rise for the prayer? Representative Zamora, you are recognized. Thank you. Now calling on Representative Ramos for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose but stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Representative Ramos. Representative Fortuno.
Fano gita moru Purita nota kontai matsu no nyagi todu lugar. Para y honra, para y gloria, viva y isla sin parar. Para y honra, para y gloria, viva y isla sin parar. Todo y tiempo y paz para kita dan gini langit na bendition. Kontrai piligru na fan sofuam Zeus protehi island Guam. Kontrai piligru na fan sofuam Zeus protehi island Guam.
Thank you both. You may be seated. I now call on Vice Speaker Cho. Please stand.
Inifasi, kininimastaculum gihinasoku, imastaculum gikurasonhu, zanimasfigu naninosinyahu, huafresin maisazu, parabau putehi, zanhu defendi, ihinengi, ikotura, ilenguahi, iairi, ihanom zanitanu chamoru. Nidin shoku dedetsu gininazuus tata. Esti hua fitma gihilungi Biblia zanibenderahu ibanderan guahan.
Thank you. You now all may be seated. Mr. Recording Secretary, roll call, please.
Representative Bermudez. Vice Speaker Cho. Representative Chung. Representative Concepcion. Representative Fortuno. Representative Gale. Representative Galindez. Representative King. Representative Laksamana. Representative Mann. Representative Nguyen. Representative Diaz. Representative Paz. Representative Paris. Representative Ramos. Representative To. Speaker Vinch. Representative Whitaker. Representative Yang. Representative Yoon. And Representative Zamora. Madam Speaker, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Representative Ramos?
Madam Speaker, I move that we waive items 7 to 11 and items 15 and 16 from our session agenda.
There has been a motion to waive items 7 to 11 and items 15 and 16 on our legislative session agenda. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Representative Ramos?
I move that all bills and resolution on today's session agenda are deemed to have their first reading.
There has been a motion that all bills and resolutions on today's session agenda are deemed to have their first reading. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Representative Paz?
I make a motion to place Bill 1-34, Committee of Rules, into this third reading file for discussion.
There's been a motion to place Bill number 31-34 into the third reading file for discussion. Are there any objections? Seeing none, motion carries. Representative Paz, you are recognized.
All right. Morning, everyone. So I'm going to introduce Bill 1-34. So Bill 1-34, otherwise known as the Sugary Portion or Sugary Drink Portion Cap Act. This bill aims to set a restriction on the maximum size that eating and drinking establishments can sell to their customers. So currently the maximum size here on Guam is roughly about 30 ounces. That's the largest size served at fast food places such as McDonald's and whatnot. And this bill aims to limit that portion from 30 ounces to 16 ounces. The rationale behind this is to protect the health of our Guamanians. Growing research suggests a positive correlation between sugary drink consumption and obesity, affecting all of our age categories, from our children to our oldest elders. Eating and drinking establishments is defined as anywhere where food or drinks will be prepared by staffs and sold to customers. So specifically restaurants, cafes, anywhere where dine-in is an option. This bill does not aim to affect other stores such as grocery stores, supermarkets, or mom and pop stores. Thank you. That is all. And thank you. That is all. And I make a motion to move to the Committee of Whole the discussion of Bill 1-34.
There's been a motion to move to a committee of the whole for discussion of the bill 1-34. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion carries. The 34th Guam Youth Congress is now in recess.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. So I believe that there was a motion to go into committee of the whole, but the chairs said that we are in recess. I believe the correct language is that we make a motion to go into recess if we need to make any outside discussions outside of the floor related to the bill, or if we need to go into committee of the whole, then the correct language should be to go into committee of the whole, and that you must relinquish the chair in order to go to the committee of the whole.
So since we're in recess right now, that's going to be out of order. We'll get back to that once we come back from the recess. The 34th Guam Youth Congress is now back from recess. Representative Paz, you have now been recognized.
Madam Speaker, I would like to make a motion to place Bill, is it 2-34? Oh, I would like to make a motion to place 1-34 onto, I would like to refer this bill back to the Committee of Health and Human Services. Yes.
There's been a motion on the floor to refer this Bill 1-34 back to its committee. Are there any objections? With no objections, motion carries. Representative Paz.
Additionally, Madam Speaker, I would like to open Bill 1-34 for open testimony, or I would like to make a motion to introduce Bill 2-34 into the Committee of the Whole.
There's been a motion to place Bill 2-34 into the Committee of the Whole. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Representative Paz.
Right. Madam Speaker, I would like to give my testimony regarding Bill 2-34. So this is apologies. I would like to retract my first motion, and I would like to make a second motion to introduce Bill 1-34 into the second, 2-34 into the second reading file.
There's been a motion to place Bill 2-34 into the second reading file for discussion. Are there any objectives? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries.
Madam Speaker, I move that we go into recess to discuss the merits of Bill 2-34 COR outside of the floor. Thank you.
There's been a motion to go into recess for discussion of Bill 2-34. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. We are now in recess.
Recess is now over. Please head to your seats.
The Guam Youth Congress is now back in session. Representative Paz, please proceed with the introduction of the bill 2-34.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to introduce Bill 2-34, otherwise known as the Green Roofs Act. The Green Roofs Act, the purpose of this bill is to provide financial incentives for property owners of buildings with larger, or the building area has to be larger than 10,000 feet, and they would benefit from a one-time property tax abatement should they install a green roof on their property. A green roof would be defined as any vegetation-covered roof, or under this bill would also include solar panel structures. Yes. So the process, the way that it would work is they would have to install the green roof covering at least 50% of their entire rooftop structure. And then they would have to obtain a qualifying certificate from the Department of Public Works. And with this certificate, they would be able to apply for this property tax abatement. The general idea for this bill is just to encourage the development of these green roofs. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Paz. Now opening discussion on Bill 2-34. Representative Fortuno.
Sidus Maasi, Madam Speaker. In the spirit of supporting the fight against climate change, in the support for greater sustainability for our island, in the need to stray away from fossil fuels, I rise to support Bill 2-34, which specifically adds additional incentives for the people of Guam to create greener homes for their families and for the future of our island. This bill will provide property tax incentives, which will support our people in inclining them to be aware that there are ways that we can be involved in straying away from fossil fuels and in contributing to the fight against climate change. As we all know, the cost of solar panels has always been the biggest concerns amongst the people in the question of why should we even have solar panels. Now, it is fair to note that in the past decade alone, the prices of solar panels have actually gone down. Although the pandemic has kind of shuffled our prices, if you look at the overall trend, it is becoming cheaper for people to have solar panels in their homes. And this bill most certainly does the job in providing the people the money that they need in order for them to be pushed towards that decision. Now, this bill calls for a one-time rebate of the property tax, and it will, I believe it will most certainly create the movement that we need so that we can move towards a greener island and a greener future. I'm a University of Guam student, and one of the prides and glories of our university is the Center for Island Sustainability. They do great work over there. And at one CIS conference that I attended, there's always a competition in which different groups are invited to design greener homes. And every year, they get designs on different ways and different mechanisms and different techniques in architectural design, whatever they may be, in order to make greener homes on our island. Now, those designs, I wish, should become a reality on our island, because it would be nice to have those actual houses turn from models into actual homes. And although this bill only addresses one of those aspects, which is the use of solar panels amongst homes on our island, it puts us in the correct direction, which is we should be using cleaner, renewable, and greener alternatives with our use of power and contribute to the effort to create a greener Guam. So once again, I rise in support of this bill. I commend Representative Paz for introducing this bill. I believe it was also introduced in the 33rd Guam Youth Congress, and I implore my colleagues to look at the merit of the bill and think about the monumental change that it could put our island in making greener homes a reality, not just as models at the Center Island Sustainability Conference, but as actual structures in our neighborhoods where people are interested in being part of the change, which is what this bill will do. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Fortuno. Are there any other members looking to speak on this bill? Representative Cho?
Madam Speaker, may I ask Representative Paz a question?
Proceed with your question.
Representative Paz, so I really like the idea and I am in support of it, but Guam property tax is 0.17% if I am not mistaken, and having a one-year abate, there's also, I believe they're trying to get solar panels on Guam by 2025, if I'm not mistaken. So if everyone like kind of has to do this, and we're giving out one-year tax abatements, so like that's going to be a big loss for the government with tax revs. So how's that going to work? Thank you.
Representative Paz?
So regarding the Vice Speaker's question, I would like to say that this bill does not make the installation of green roofs mandatory on any existing or new structures on Guam. It is only meant to encourage the development of it. Also, regarding the property tax, I do understand the concern of the loss of revenue. But at the same time, as we're moving towards a greener island and a healthier island, we also have to consider some of the things that we're willing to give and take. I feel that if we can incentivize the development of these green roofs, either vegetation covered roofs or solar panel roofs, by providing one-year property tax abatements, then I definitely think that this is a worthy cost, for the future development of our island. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Paz. Are there any other members wishing to speak? Representative Laksamana?
Half a day, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am in support
Sorry
of...
to interrupt. Representative Zamora and then Representative Laksamana.
Oh, okay, my apologies.
My apologies for that, Representative Laksamana. I have a couple of points and questions for Representative Paz. One, would the incentives for this bill outweigh the costs and difficulties of actually
Representative Paz, will you view the question?
Madam Speaker, yes, I yield.
Proceed with your question, Representative Zamora.
My apologies. Would the incentives of this bill outweigh the difficulties of actually implementing it? For example, maintenance, upkeep of the green roofs is one concern. Likewise, the tax abatements, would they offset the costs of maintenance and implementation of the green roofs? And if it does, that means that the government is losing out on tax revenue, and the government kind of needs all the money it can get because a lot of things are already underfunded, and cutting one source of revenue, if only a little bit, would be a concern. And likewise, one concern I have is what is stopping business owners or property owners from, say, installing the green roofs for 1 year, getting the tax abatement, demolishing them, and then rebuilding them again the next year to get another year's tax abatement? And that is all. Thank you.
Representative Paz.
Thank you, Representative, for your concern. I would like to, first I'll address regarding the business cost over the incentive. So, of course, there are additional benefits to having a green roof, not just financial and not just the tax abatement proposed in this bill. Green roofs, some of the merits include a recreational space for visitors. You can also develop and grow like a herbarium for local plants and fauna. And it also reduces cooling and energy costs. Green roofs, especially vegetation-covered roofs, have the capacity to reduce cooling requirements for buildings by reducing the overall temperature and reducing the urban and island heat impact. I do understand that there are concerns regarding like demolishing it and just reapplying for the bill. Thank you for acknowledging this. I admit that it is not currently addressed in this bill, and you can definitely make an amendment to rectify it, because that's the last thing that I want. It's not the intention of this bill. The bill is to promote green roofs in the interests of island sustainability, not just to provide a property tax write-off. Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other representatives looking to speak on this bill? Representative Laksamana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Hafa Day once again. Madam Speaker, I am in support of 2-34. I believe this bill's intention is to encourage Guam towards a sustainable future. These benefits would push our people to choose to go green. And as the rep before me said, he said that it pushes us in the right direction, and I believe any small step towards a greener tomorrow is very important for Guam. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members looking to speak further on this bill? Representative Fortuno.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise again to speak in support of this bill, but also to provide my input.
Sorry to interrupt. You've already spoken. So.
Oh, I could only speak once. Okay, that's all right. All right, got it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Are there any other members looking to speak? Representative Gale.
Hello. At this point in time, if I have it correct, for the installation of solar panels, there is already a 30% income tax credit that you can receive for installation. And so this bill would stack with that. However, it would not stack with the green roof. So if you were to implement a grass or vegetation roof, you would not get a tax, an income tax credit. However, you would get one for solar panels. So this bill would highly incentivize the use of solar panels rather than the actual implementation of vegetation-covered roofing, because there is already an incentive to construct solar panels, whereas there is not already an incentive to construct green roofs in the sense of vegetation. However, this bill did include, I recognize the fact that this bill did include solar panels for the purpose of not discouraging them, as when you cover a roof in vegetation, you cannot cover it in solar panels. However, I believe it is an important thing to note that this will highly skew incentives towards solar panels rather than actual green roofs. And in addition, the tax rebate might be more appropriate to have over an extended period of time rather than just a one-time 100% rebate, as with vegetation roofing, there is a significant cost of upkeep in comparison to solar panel installation. With solar panels, the main cost is installation, whereas with vegetation roofing, the main cost comes with maintenance. And so I just like everyone to consider that solar panels will be highly incentivized and that this might not cover the upkeep cost for vegetation roofing. Therefore, companies and buildings will gravitate heavily towards solar panels. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Are there any other members wishing to speak? Representative Ramos? Are there any other members wishing to speak?
Test, test. Okay. Good morning, Madam Speaker. I would rise to speak against the bill. My colleague, Alexander Gale, has provided many great points on how this would not create a Guam filled with vegetation on our roofs. Instead, it will further incentivize the building of solar panels, which, as we may agree, is a great thing, right? We all want renewable energy, we want to end the use of fossil fuels, but it speaks to against the intent of the bill, right? Now, in addition to that, there are several other factors which would incentivize against the building of green roofs in favor of solar panels. First of all, as Alex mentioned, there are already programs that incentivize solar panels, which this would add on to. Secondly, solar panels provide an incentive in terms of energy reduction costs, right? With a solar panel, you have big businesses will be able to save on electricity fees, smaller homes will save on electricity fees, we'll have rebates from a GPA. Next, solar panels don't require the type of maintenance that green roofs do. The type of maintenance that green roofs require is a lifelong one, right? And especially with conditions on Guam, such as hurricanes and the occasional tropical storm, it will require more and more problems in the future, right? And I think a one-time tax rebate is not going to help people be driven to the incentivizing installing green roofs over something like solar panels, which they would benefit from this bill. A second point of concern is the lack of regulation on the types of vegetation that we would be willing to install, that we would accept. I was talking to Representative Paz during the recess, and supposedly something like marijuana might be eligible for the rebates. So I can theoretically have my roof covered with 75% marijuana, and I'd benefit from the stipulations in the bill. And I'm not sure if that's the kind of future that we were imagining when we proposed this bill. The third point of concern is one of structural integrity, right? In the wake of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, questions of building structure has been coming up in recent discussions, and I think it's important to consider what the impact of green roofs might be on our houses and homes. An estimated 15 to 200 kilograms per meter squared would be added to the weight of our homes and our roofs if a green roof was installed. This is quite a significant addition, especially to some Guam homes, which might not be up to standard already. In the bill, it says that the green roof shall not compromise structural integrity, but how will we guarantee that, right? And what agency will ensure that the integrity of the roofs are okay, that the green roofs aren't damaging anything, right? And how will we find out before it's too late? And on the topic of typhoons and earthquakes, Guam experiences a lot of those. And during a typhoon, the rain comes and the weight is increased. So if the weight of a green roof is okay in regular circumstances, in the time of the disaster, how can we ensure that we keep our people safe, right? Now, I'm all for green energy. I'm all for this renewable and green earth and a better Guam, but I think that the bill goes against its intent, is dangerous for our people, and requires more stipulations on the regulations in order to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Are there any other members wishing to speak on this bill? Seeing none, Representative Paz, continue to your closing.
Hello. I just want to thank everyone for bringing up their concerns regarding the bill. So, one of the first concerns that was brought up was regarding the structural integrity. That oversight would be under the Department of Public Works. It would fall under their expertise to ensure that any of these developments, whether it be solar panels or vegetation, would not compromise the structural integrity. That would fall under their agency. Also, I believe there's a misconception regarding the development of these. This is meant to specifically target larger buildings on our island, so like our hotels and our local hospitals, because in the bill it's written as buildings larger than 10,000 square feet. So it wouldn't necessarily affect private residences, which tend to be smaller than that. Additionally, regarding the one-term property tax rebatement, I understand like there are other intrinsic benefits, you know, as I mentioned, not just financial. But if this committee feels like this is something that we definitely need to address, then we can also make an amendment on that. But overall, I just want to reemphasize and restate my support for this bill, and I'm doing it with good intentions. Thank you.
Representative Paz, your motion.
Madam Speaker, I motion to move into the third reading file for voting.
There's been a motion to move Bill 2-34 into the third reading file for voting. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries.
Madam Speaker, just to clarify, we are still on motions? All right. Oh, I believe the Vice Speaker will be making a motion, so I call on the
Vice Speaker Cho.
Good morning, everyone. Madam Speaker, I would like to make an amendment to the standing rules of line 17 to 20 on page 36. And I would like to amend the standing rules to read, the standing committees shall be composed of a total number of voting members not less than 1/5 of the Youth Congress's total number of representatives, which would be 4 people, and no more than 7 voting members, except for the Committee on Rules. Chairpersons are to be counted as part of the voting membership of the committee.
Calling for a vote on this amendment. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Oh, you have to call on me first.
We'll go ahead and proceed with the voting for the amendment. Calling on Mr. Recording Secretary.
Representative Bermudez. Aye or no? Yes or no? For the amendment.
You must respond with aye or nay for the amendment.
Representative Bermudez. Representative Vice Speaker Cho. Representative Chung. Representative Concepcion. Representative Diaz, Representative Fortuno, Representative Gale, Representative Galindez, Representative Hopman, Representative King, Representative Lacaden, Representative Laksamana, Representative Nan, Representative Nguyen, Representative Paz, Representative Paris, Representative Ramos, Representative Toe, Representative Speaker Bench, Representative Whitaker, Representative Yang, Representative Yoon, Representative Zamora.
With majority votes, this amendment has been duly adopted into the standing rules by the floor. Representative Fortuno.
Seduce Maasi, Madam Speaker. I move that we open the floor for nominations for the election of the chairperson of the Committee on Rules.
There's been a motion to open the nominations for the elections of the chairperson for the Committee on Rules. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Are there any nominations? Representative Fortuno.
Seduce Maasi, Madam Speaker. It is with great pride and privilege that I nominate my good and hardworking friend, Representative Christian Gaz Ramos of the University of Guam as chairperson of the Committee on Rules for the 34th Guam Youth Congress.
Thank you, Representative Fortuno. Representative Laksamana.
Madam Speaker, I move that the nominations for chairperson of the Committee of Rules be closed.
Representative Paz.
Madam Speaker, I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the nominations for the chairperson of the Committee on Rules be closed. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. All those voting for Representative Ramos for chairperson on the Committee on Rules, raise your hand. It has been voted by a majority that the newly elected chairperson for the Committee on Rules is Representative Ramos. Congratulations. Representative Ramos.
Madam Speaker, at this time, I would like to make the motion for the second roll call to reflect first roll call.
There's been a motion to have the second roll call reflect the first roll call. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion carries. We're in a brief recess before we start the voting file. Thank you. The 34th Guam Youth Congress is now back from recess. Representative Lackadin.
Madam Secretary, I make a motion to excuse all absent representatives.
There's been a motion to excuse all absent members from this session. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. We are now on legislative item 18, the voting file. Recording Secretary, please read the title of the bill 2-34.
Bill number 2-34 COR, introduced by Representative Nathan Paz. An act to add a new section 24414 to Article 4, Chapter 24, Title 11, Guam Code Annotated, and to add a new section 58110.1 to Article 1, Chapter 58, Title 12, GCA, and amend Section 5823, Article 2, Chapter 58, Title 12, GCA, relative to implementing property tax abatement incentives to promote the implementation of green roofs and requiring a percentage of roofing areas for green roofs, certain qualifying certificates, and hotel developments.
Roll call, please.
Representative Bermudez. Vice Speaker Cho. Representative Chung. Representative Concepcion. Yay. Representative Diaz. Representative Fortuno. Representative Gale. Representative Galindez. Representative Hoffman. Representative King. Representative Lassiter. Representative Laxama. Representative Mann. Representative Nugent. Representative Paz. Representative Ramos. Representative Toe. Speaker Vinch. Representative Whitaker. Representative Yang. Representative Yoon. Representative Zamora.
Bill 2-34 COR received 12 ayes, 10 nays. Bill 2-34 COR hereby passes by this body. Back onto legislative. Back on the legislative agenda, item 19 for brief extensions and remarks. Would any representative like to speak? Representative Diaz.
Zizulis Ma'asi, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak for the brief extension of remarks. Hafaday Speaker Vinch, Vice Speaker Cho, Guam Youth Congress representatives, family, friends, and the island of Guam. On behalf of the Guam Youth Congress, we present this certificate of condolence to Vice Speaker Munya Barnes, Auntie Tina, and her children Tiffany Cruz, Jathan Barnes, Kobe Barnes, and Mina Barnes, in light of her husband's passing, Mr. Jacob Barnes, Uncle Jake. May the certificate of condolence be a reminder of finding healing and comfort in and with each other during this difficult time, and that God will be there with her and her family through it all. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield my time.
Thank you, Representative Diaz. Would anyone else like to speak? Representative Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At this time, I would like to have a moment of silence for Mr. Jacob Jake Cruz Barnes. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ramos. Moving to announcements, does anyone have any announcements to share? UOG Rep Austin Fortuno.
Yes, yes, thank you, thank you. All right, so as you all know, next month is Gupo Chamorro, but it is also Charter Month for the University of Guam. The University of Guam is celebrating its 55th Charter Day on March 2nd, Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We will have, one moment. My apologies. All right, so the opening ceremony starts at 9 a.m. at the UOG Center Courtyard. We will have campus tours, Tech Fest 2023, art exhibits, our annual HUD competition, live music, raffle prizes, the UOG Army ROTC demonstrations, food and entertainment, open house displays. We will also have the Marine Lab and WERI presentations, displays from biology and agriculture, and many more. If you would like to know more information for a full schedule of the activities, visit www.uog.edu/charterday. Be by UOG.
Does any other representatives have anything they'd like to share? Representative Paz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just like to thank everybody for joining us in session today, and also providing constructive criticism on the bills that were discussed. Additionally, I would also like to acknowledge and thank the 33rd Guam Youth Congress for their mentorship and guidance that made today's session possible, specifically Nolan Flores and Nico Valencia. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Paz. Representative Ramos, your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to motion to adjourn session subject to the call of the Speaker.
There has been a motion to adjourn subject to the call of the Speaker. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, motion carries. We are adjourned.